Gary Stanley, Managing Director of the Global Mineral Strategies LLC, which is a private, independent consulting and advisory firm that I stood up at the beginning of 2024. I recently retired after 40 years of U.S. government service at the U.S. Department of Commerce, and now I am transitioned from the public sector to the private sector. Having moved from the public sector to the private sector, I see the North American critical mineral sector still in many ways in a developmental early stages of growth and advancement. Part of that is because we're moving into areas that really doesn't have a long-term history and needs to be continued to advance by both countries. What I see as the positives is not only a commitment by Canadian as well as the US governments and industries to the sector, but also recognizing the kind of challenges and obstacles that need to be overcome in order to be successful if in fact the idea of a North American battery supply chain is not just a concept, but a reality. There are upcoming elections in both the United States and Canada, and they will have impacts in this sector. That's just to be expected and understood. However, what I would say to most people is don't be overly concerned about either the elections in the United States or here in Canada. Why? Because for an extended period of time, we have seen a commitment by both the Canadian and US governments as well as industries to work together. Both countries recognize that we are at the precipice of a vital stage in this process moving forward. And the only way to be successful is to build on the successes that we have, but also recognizing, quite frankly, the nature of how much we are dependent on each other. If Canada and the United States are to be ultimately successful, they have to leverage the strengths of the existing relationship because there are challenges, not just from China, not just from Russia, but many other places around the world that frankly have not chosen to do their critical minerals work, where ESG standards and things that impact the long-term sustainability but also the environmental impact are being properly addressed. Looking to the future, as Canada and the United States seek to move to a North American supply chain in the battery sector that is more than just a concept but is a reality, there are obstacles and challenges that have to be addressed. For instance, being able to play by the rules that are fair and free in the trade and environment sector around the world. There also has to be a willingness to do things the right way, where you're working with local communities, where you're holding up minority-owned enterprises, where you're encouraging investment in the marketplace across the spectrum of battery materials. So what I see as the biggest obstacles overcoming, number one, is there still the will to be successful? Do both Canada and the United States see that we are on the right path and there is a commitment to getting there? Secondly, is freeing up capital. If there is one thing that this sector desperately needs, is for everyone from banks to government sources, but also venture capitalists to be willing to support these long-term projects, because frankly, it took 50 years to get where we are now. We don't have 50 years to solve this crisis. So as we move forward, there has to be capital, there has to be R&D, there also has to be the governments willing to let the private sector do what they do best.